Okay?
Yes.
So thank you very much for the organizers and the teams of the Dalit Camera, to whom we are contacting today the first time. And as you have asked for that, how we are connected with the movement of the Kanshiramji, Bayanji and the Bahujan Samaj Party phenomena as such. Let me begin with the thing that right from 1965-70 onwards, the Kanshiram phenomena was operating in the entire country. In the beginning, it was limited to educated employees, some intellectuals, and some youngsters who have been the part and product of the post-Ambedkarite or post-Dalit Panther movement in Maharashtra. And during that stage in 1970-80, when Kanshiramji was spending a lot of time or actively participating, rather learning the entire discourse of Ambedkarite movement in Maharashtra, I came into contact with the Kanshiram Sahab in 1981 as the student activist. You will be surprised to know that that time Kanshiramji was not a known political entity or a social entity or any kind of identity. But he was in the stage of analysis, diagnosis of entire, not only Ambedkarite movement as such, but why the socio-cultural revolts which has taken place in the past in a different corners of the country, what is the net impact of those revolts, to what extent those revolts sustain, and what are the implications of such a socio-cultural revolts. For example, the socio-cultural revolt of Tande Periyar in Tamil Nadu, socio-cultural impact of Ayyankali movement or Srinarayana Guru movement in Kerala, or socio-cultural impact of Babu Manguram in Punjab pre-Ambedkar period, or socio-cultural impact of Harcharan Gurucharan Thakur's movement of Chandalas, we call it as a Namo Shudras also, in West Bengal, or even a Satnami movement in the central part of India. So he was systematically studying, analyzing and articulating these movements. Kanshiram Sahab's biggest contribution, apart from other things, that he is the man who has compiled the entire discourse of socio-cultural movements in India. It is the biggest contribution of Kanshiram Sahab because he is the man who introduces to the south the Ravidas. He is the man who introduces a Nandanar to the north. He is the man who introduced to the people of the Gujarat who is the Harcharan Thakur. He is the man who takes the Srinarayana Guru from the remote corner of a Trivandrum to the entire North India. Periyar, same phenomena. Even a Periyar followers could not make the Periyar impact as a nationwide in that context. So Kanshiramji's biggest contribution is that he consolidated, compiled together the entire movement's discourse, right from Buddha, right from Charvaka to Baba Sahib, and then he came to certain analytical, his own reasoning, saying that why we failed, and then he diagnosed certain elements. So in that formation period of his movement, I came into contact with him as a student, and I represented as a student in a DS4 that time. That was the second wing of the Kanshiramji's movement after the Bamsan. Because DS4 was basically a combination of youths, students and ladies. So these three wings operated, and during that period I came into contact with him. And thereafter I have been continuously, non-stop for more than now 30 years, actively participating, holding a different responsibilities, performing the different roles and whatever the task assigned me. So I have been till 2003, when Kanshiramji was himself operating the movement directly. That time Bayanji was looking the north, Kanshiram Sahab was looking the south. That was the division of the work between them. And that time I was the State General Secretary of the Maharashtra in 2003. But when 2003, after the ill health of the Kanshiram Sahab, I was deputed to Gujarat as a coordinator by the Benji, because he required some experienced people who were in the mission, who understand the mission to develop the other states. So 2003 to 2005 I was the coordinator, national executive member, and I was looking after the Gujarat, Diu, Daman and Dadra Nagar Haveli. 2005, then once this Gujarat was set in a proper order, I was shifted to Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, these three states I was looking after. This Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, these states I was looking up to just 2009. And meantime then I was also in charge of the entire South India, all southern states including Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Pondicherry. Thereafter I was also in charge of for some time to launch the party in the northeastern states, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura. But somehow we could not take up that project further, but I was deputed there. For some reasons we decided not to proceed further because of certain varieties or the different kind of characters in the northeastern region, and therefore we could not pursue that. And now currently I am in charge of Kerala and Andhra Pradesh, these two states, as the main coordinator of the party. Last 30-35 years, although I have been in Maharashtra, I have never been impressed by Dalit movement in Maharashtra. Remember, that's the first reason you should understand. Because other state people look at the people of the Maharashtra to get impressed about the entire phenomenon of the Ambedkarite movement. See, in Maharashtra itself, although Ambedkar force is there, movement is there, but that is not translated successfully into actions and the results. Culturally, yes, we are the force. In a literal world, yes, we are in the force. Even in a cultural phenomena, cultural programs, we are in the force. Education, employment, yes, we are in the force. But what about the movement of Baba Sahib? In a comprehensive manner. And that's the big question. That's the big question. Because ultimately, what is the movement of the Baba Sahib? We can explain in two things. One is the destruction and another is the construction. Now, destruction we can say in terms of decasting the Indian society. We can call it as the destruction. And a construction means the construction on the four pillars of the Buddhist philosophy: liberty, equality, fraternity, justice. So, that should be the constructive pillars. So, Ambedkarite movement is broadly of these two things: destruction of the status quo unjust social order and construction of the new social order based upon these four pillars. That is the Ambedkarite movement. Now, our people don't understand, some people they don't understand, at least we can say all, that how we can realize this construction and destruction. Now, Kanshiram Sahab, time and again, he used to remind us what Baba Sahib says about it. And in this entire process, our people adopt the different methods. For example, changing the name is one of the method. Changing the names. We are in Tamil Nadu. We were the Parayal, then we became the Adi Dravidas. Adi Dravidas. Or even in the Punjab, we became the Adi Dharmis. So change of name is also one kind of the movement or how operated, that is the one method. Second is the conversion is another method. That leaving the Brahmanical culture, leaving the Hindu culture and adopting the different means. For example, the Buddhism in Maharashtra, Matua religion that is founded by Gurucharan Thakur in Bengal. So that is the Matua way of life. Or Satnami way of life in Chhattisgarh now. Or Sikhism in Punjab. So this kind of a cultural movement which we have taken place. Now, Baba Sahib was also quite vocal on one issue, that in the process of decasting the Indian society, you require a bigger force. You require a bigger force. If you exactly quote Baba Sahib quotation, that is a very interesting. It is in the volume of the Baba Sahib, and he says, if you want to destroy the power on other side, you have to have a more power on your side. And if you don't have a more power on your side, you cannot destroy the power on other side. Now this is a simple quotation, but that tells you a lot. Here is the one system, you call it the Brahmanical social order or the Vedic social order or the Anza social order. Here is the one social order which is absolutely premised on the values and the cultures of inhuman society. And therefore, to transform such inhuman society into a humanistic society, or you say that a casteless society, you require a tremendous power. And therefore, Baba Sahib in his entire discourse after 1940, he was again and again focusing that a political power is the master key. In fact, this was well elaborated by Baba Sahib on 24 September 1944 in a Madras, when he was ordered by the Madras Corporation, when N. Shivaraj was the mayor and Tande Periyar was that present in that meeting. And then Baba Sahib makes it very clear, saying that ultimately for what our struggle is, whether our struggle is for few reservations, few concessions and the few jobs. And Baba Sahib say, no, certainly not. Our ultimate goal is to become the governing class to rule this country. So if you want to construct the entire Ambedkarite movement in a one sentence or one word, you can say it is the Rule India movement. It is Rule India movement. Now this Rule India movement doctrine or the message of the Baba Sahib in a post-Ambedkar period, not a single Dalit leader in the country, not a backward community leader, not a minority community leader who picked up this message or the discourse of Ambedkar, power discourse, especially I call it as a militant power discourse. Militant power discourse. Now why it is a militant power discourse? Because in 1948, Ambedkar himself, when he was the law minister in Lucknow on 20th April 1948, he made a plan that in an independent India, constitution will guarantee a bundle of rights to these people, but still they will require a political umbrella, a coalition of the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the backwards and the minorities. And this coalition should form or result into one political power, one political struggle. Then they will be able to protect these rights. So that was the Baba Sahib plan of even acquiring the political power. Even that time Congress people did not like the Baba Sahib idea, because Baba Sahib was very vocal in saying that you can throw the Patel and Nehru's government, don't think that the Patel and Nehru government is a permanent. If you form this coalition, you can come together politically, you can have your political power and you can form the government. In a post-Ambedkar period, Kanshiramji is the only man who picked up this message. And after a preparation of 1965 to 84, it is not a small period. This is called as the non-political preparatory work by Kanshiram Sahib. Because 1964 he resigned from the job, 1965 to 1984, a long journey. And in this long journey, non-political journey, he laid down the foundations of his political movement. Now why he took a long years? And there is a reason. He was a firm believer of the basic reality that any political movement, for sustaining a long period, you must have a deep non-political roots. You require a deeper non-political roots. So 1965 to 1984, till the formation of the Bahujan Samaj Party on 14th April 1984, Kanshiramji was strengthening the non-political roots of his political movement. And therefore, after 1984, in the very first election, because 1984 is a crucial year, because in 1984 Indira Gandhi is assassinated, Rajiv Gandhi takes over. the new sympathy wave comes. And in 1984, in such a kind of situation, BSP fielded more than 350 candidates throughout the country. 350. Now, fielding the 350 candidates throughout the country, that was also remarkable development at that time. You will surprise that not a single candidate won, not a single candidate saved the deposit, but the Republican Party, which was claiming the legacy of the Babasaheb Ambedkar that time, which was operating in different parts of the state, BSP secured more than 10,50,000 votes in the country that time, which all RP and all Dalit fractions throughout the country could not secure. So, political entry of the BSP was remarkable in that way. And thereafter what happened? Thereafter, immediately in 1985, we had a UP elections. Now, party is founded on 14th April 1984. In 1985, UP elections. And again, BSP fielded that time. UP had a 425 seats. There was no Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand. And BSP fielded more than 300 seats. Again, not a single candidate won. But Congress was made to lose 53 seats because of the entry of the BSP. And Chaudhary Charan Singh party was benefited. And that was the first beginning of BSP's nuisance value in the Indian politics. Nuisance value. Because unless you create a nuisance for someone, you are not a cognizable force in the politics. Here Kanshiramji created a nuisance. Thereby, Congress party lost the 53 seats in Uttar Pradesh, and that was the biggest setback. Now look here, that time BSP got only 2.4 votes, 2.4% votes. Congress had 42% votes that time, 1985. Congress had in UP 42%, BSP had a 2.4%. Now where is the Congress today? And BSP has crossed 30%. One thing remarkable about the journey of the BSP we should know is that BSP has consistently improved its vote share and the number of the either MPs or MLAs. Consistently. 1989, we had 12 MLAs in UP and 3 MPs, 2 MP from the Uttar Pradesh, 1 MP from the Punjab. So 1989, we had 3 members of the parliaments. Last 2009 election, we had 21 member of the parliament. That is the highest number so far. In 2007, again a remarkable history as we compare the social history of the entire country. Non-Congress governments, because BJP is the latest phenomena, because after 1980, before 1980, you had 2 non-Congress governments. One is the left government in Kerala, which was demolished by the Nehru in 1957-58. And second, we had a government in 1967 in Tamil Nadu under the leadership of Annadurai. These 2 governments were only the non-Congress government. Now, they were non-Congress government, but they were also non-Ambedkarite governments. That is very important. They were not the products of any Dalit movement or Ambedkar movement. Neither a left movement led by Namboodiripad in Kerala or Annadurai, DK or DMK that time, a movement led in Tamil Nadu. They were neither Dalit movements nor Ambedkarite movements. They were non-Brahmin movements in Tamil Nadu, and CPM movement we cannot say non-Brahmin, it is another phase of again status quo political parties. Benji's entry in the politics, again, Mayawati ji today know everybody as a big leader, but nobody knows how she has struggled taking a charge of from one small district of Bijnor in the Uttar Pradesh to now she is in charge of the entire country, who has naturally inherited the political legacy of the Kanshiram Sahab. And Kanshiram Sahab was also frank enough to nominate his political heir when he was alive, because that is also a rare thing. Normally in politics nobody appoints his political heirs while alive. and Kanshiramji was in a good health, but he was thinking, because you analyze his speeches, he always speaks the movement should transform and transfer from generation to generations. Today I am alive, tomorrow I may not be, but the movement should be there. I may not be alive tomorrow, but the movement should go on. And this kind of a thing, therefore he was a big visionary man, self-sacrificing man, and therefore he could take these bold decisions, and therefore he appointed a Banerjee as the political heir. Now, she has also struggled along with Kanshiram Sahab in several agitations, programs, whether it is elections, all kinds of the process she has also undergone. Now we have reached the stage. In 1996, we became the national political party first time. Now this national political party you become on the basis of your vote strength, your success in electoral politics. The problem of Dalit movements throughout the country is Dalit movement operate as a prominent socio-political force, but not the electoral force. That is the one biggest obstacle in the process of Dalit movements in the entire country. So you can be, even in Maharashtra, Buddhist or Dalits, they are the prominent force, but they are not the prominent electoral force. In Tamil Nadu, 20% Dalits, a very vibrant group of the Dalits in Tamil Nadu, especially dominated by the North Tamil Nadu. But they cannot convert that whole entire dominant group of Dalits into a political force. It is a social force, to that extent we can accept. Here, Kanshiramji made it entry that Baba Sahib wanted to capture the power through the vote power. And vote power was so far neglected by all Dalit politicians and organizations. Kanshiramji brought this importance of the vote power in an entire electoral politics or Dalit politics, and he articulated strongly. And therefore now, as on today, 2013, after 1996, we became the first party to become a national political party. So in entire all political parties of the Dalits, BSP is the only national political party according to the rules and regulations of the Election Commission of India. And therefore elephant symbol is reserved for the BSP, except Assam, because Assam, that AGP had a elephant symbol before BSP, and therefore that cannot be taken away as per the rules and regulations. And therefore 1996 we attained the status of national political party. 1996. Now that time we were at number 5 in a national political parties. Now 1996 we attained the status of a national political party. Today we are in 2013. We have retained that status by our electoral performance in each and every election. Now 1996 to 2013, almost this 13 and this 4, 17 years, BSP has not lost a national political status. Many parties have lost, even JD, led by Devi Gowda, they have lost. CPI have lost, NCP has lost, even CPM now losing. They have lost, but BSP has continued the status of national political party. 1996 we were at number 5, now we are at number 3. Next to Congress and BJP. So, in a sum and substance, today, BSP led by the Banerjee, in terms of the vote and in terms of the parliamentary strength, it is the number 3 political party in the national politics. Number 3. Now, this is not only the political achievement. Our achievements are in a multidimensional nature. For example, Dalit identity politics. BSP has established now. Whether you call it as a Bahujan or Sarvajan, but basically establishing the Dalit identity in the Indian politics, credit goes to Kanshiram Sahab, Banerjee. It is a very well. Not only that, but as I told you, that new rules of the governance, introduction of the new rules of the governance, because Banerjee has done experiments, or the Kanshiram Sahab earlier, or short-term governments, we have done a lot of experiments. For example, each and every community should get a share in a governance according to their proportion of the population. Or another, reservation in a private sector. That is the Banerjee's biggest achievement when she was in a government. Or even introduction of affirmative action program, which is in America. Even a private contractors and even the private players should introduce the reservation sector in their own establishment. Banerjee introduced in Uttar Pradesh. Not only that, the distribution of the land, which normally talk in Dalit politics or Dalit movement, biggest distribution of the land when Banerjee was in power, regularization of the lands which were in the possession or occupation of the Dalits, they were all regularized. That is the big achievement. Now, when we compare with the today's food security bill of the Congress party, how we analyze it, and you have to understand here. A food security bill and all these kinds of the phenomena, they are devices of keeping the Dalits in the same threshold of the caste and the village. Whereas Babasaheb wanted to these people to get out from this kind of the systems. And therefore, they will not give a land. They will give you food to eat, so you can stay there and you can serve them as a cheap bonded laborer in the villages, so that feudal system, casteist mechanism can survive. These kind of things which they are following. So, apart from this, even as I told you, the big memorials in the name of the national heroes constructed by the BSP. Now, many people, they have their own perceptions about it. But we know very well, Banerjee used to say openly, when the Nehru-Gandhi Congress government in the country, they create the number of the memorials in the name of their Gandhi, Nehru and so on and so forth. They have every right to do. When we come to the power, we have every right to create a memorials in the memory of our heroes. Whether it is the Babasaheb, whether it is the Periyar, whether it is the Sri Narayana Guru, whether it is the Phule, whether it is even Guru Ghasidas, even it is even a Birsa Munda or Ravidas, we have every right. BSP has utilized that historic opportunity in institutionalizing our own history. Because after even 5,000 years, if somebody want to trace the history of Dalit empowerment, you have the Ambedkar Memorial, you have the Kanshiram Memorial, you have the Buddha, or you have the Buddha University in Noida. Now, these are going to be our evidences for the generations and generations that what we were or what we have created. And therefore, it has a very big value. Now, when we say big value, you have to understand this in terms of Dalit liberation. Now, many people think that Dalit liberation means to give a scholarship and give a job. That is a very simplistic way of understanding or explaining the Dalit liberation. Dalit liberation is basically a psychological phenomenon. It is a psychological phenomenon. Dalits are all downtrodden or the backwards. They need a psychological rehabilitation. They need a psychological empowerment. And psychological empowerment comes from such institutionalization of our victories, our success. And therefore, a small statue, why it is the inspiration of the people? A small, even a god who is in the stone form, why it is the inspiration for the thousands and the lakhs of the people? Because that is the model. That is the model which becomes the source of inspiration for the millions. So, our people also, Dalits, backwards, minorities, they also need some kind of a psychological inspiration, and these monumentals or these memorials, they provide it. But you know, media in this country, it has its own perception. Especially, media was never friendly to pre-Ambedkar period, and it is never friendly in a post-Ambedkar period. Because media is a creation entirely in this country of the same people who operate the system, who enjoy the system. And therefore, even in a Gandhi Ambedkar struggle, Babasaheb Ambedkar, he never had a successful media backing to him. Otherwise, he could have been again travel much far ahead, but he could not get it the support of the media, and that was but natural, because Ambedkar discourse, Kanshiramji discourse or our discourse is basically anti-establishment. So, Ambedkar discourse being a reconstructionist, anti-establishment. Naturally, media is a creation and it is handled, operated by the status quo forces. Now, naturally, media will not back that. The same thing has happened in the post-Ambedkarite period. Whosoever, what kind of the forces which have come into existence, including the Bahujan Samaj Party, under the leadership of first Kanshiram Saab, then Behenji, naturally media will not back it. And therefore, we can witness even the current election covering also, in the print as well as the electronic media. They never backs. Even before the election results, when the electoral capability of Aam Aadmi Party was not even proved, and BSP's electoral utility was already proved even in Delhi, when BSP had a 14% vote bank, in a local body 17% before that. But nobody was taking the cognizance of the BSP. And this is therefore Kanshiramji and Behenji has always taught, we have to be very careful and aware from this Manuvadi media. Because Manuvadi media will try to retain the system, try to support those forces who are with the system, because media is also creation of that. And therefore, today we know very well why more than 250 media houses are backing the BJP, why the corporates are supporting the BJP, or why even if you look at the small aspect of corporate funding, which normally we don't discuss in Dalit politics. Look at this corporate funding. This corporate funding comes in a big way to all Congress and BJP and even Aam Aadmi Party. Even the baby of the current political scenario, we can call it as the baby of the current political scenario, they also receives. But BSP never receives any corporate funding. Never. Not a single. And on record it is. On account if you check it, because I have the details, no corporate funding. So BSP has its own method of dealing with the media. And therefore we teach our cadres in the cadre camp that we have to be very careful about this media, because this media, I may have a one or two media, but they have the thousands of media. In that case, for me it is very difficult to combat with them. If I say one thing on one media, the thousands media will come against me, and therefore we have to handle them very tactically. Although we cannot completely marginalize the role of the media in the current changing politics, when this social networking and all other things have become quite active, we cannot completely marginalize or just negate it by saying so. But we have to learn a lesson that when the media is supporting the pro-establishment model, they will not support you in a big way. They will support you only when they cannot neglect you. They will support you when only they cannot neglect you. In other words, when you become so substantial force, powerful force, cognizable force, they cannot neglect you. And that is the lesson, and that we have seen in 2007 in UP election. And therefore, although this media and all this having this kind of the tendencies, we have to now go much beyond. Because in the changing scenario, globalization is coming, privatization is coming, already settled, then some kind of electoral politics is also changing in this country. Big political parties are thinking that we could have the presidential model which that suits to them by demolishing the parliamentary model. So that will be another challenges coming to the Dalit or Ambedkarite movements in the coming days. And taking into account all these kind of challenges, we have the only hope of now Bahujan Samaj Party and Mayawati are the only national leader. Other than these two things, we don't have any other option, any other viable option, feasible option. Ideologically, theoretically, you may have thousands of the options, but pragmatically, you have no other option than Bahujan Samaj Party and the Mayawati at a national level.